Okay, so hello and welcome everyone to our live stream. Right now we are gathered together on the largest self-improvement Discord server online self-improvement server for young men on the path to development of their mental and physical health. And this will be a lecture, Q&A, an opportunity for people to ask questions and get answers from a monk, from someone who's been through life and has had some success in mental and physical health. So I'll introduce myself a little bit before we continue, because I know many people are here for the first time and maybe don't know about me or necessarily know about Buddhism, which is okay. My name is Bhante Varrapanyo. I am a 30-year-old American Buddhist monk currently living in California. When I was 20 years old, I reached a point of real mental health crisis or emotional suffering, psychological suffering, just social suffering, just everything in my life was a mess and not working out at all. And I really didn't have any skills to take care of myself, and I didn't have any mentors or connections with people who could really give me guidance. That really was the situation I was in. So at that point, I was fortunate enough to go and stay and live at a Zen Buddhist meditation center for 1 year, where I got this kind of 1 year intensive training program when I was 21. And that shifted and changed my mind a lot to be more stable and have more abilities to deal with my suffering, to face myself rather than just trying to avoid my suffering or my difficulties. In 2000, that was in 2015. In 2018, I moved from America to Thailand and ordained and became a Buddhist monk. So since 2018, I have been living full-time as a Buddhist monk. I've stayed in monasteries and practice centers all around the world, practicing meditation, learning from Buddhist teachers, meditation masters, and also kind of finding myself often in a teaching role, mainly because there's just not enough monks or successful meditation practitioners who have a good capacity or a good ability to communicate about the Dhamma, about the meditation teachings. And there's a lot of people out there who don't know what they're talking about, but kind of pretend that they do. And this is an opportunity to connect with someone who's gone through a lot of difficulty, suffering, and been influenced by a lot of real meditation masters and teachers, to ask some questions, to get advice, and hopefully to be able to continue on your own self-improvement journey. Okay, does that make sense? Does that sound clear? Does that sound good? Okay. So the way that this stream or this event is going to go is really led by you guys and asking questions and bringing up the situations that you're going through, and I'll try to give some helpful and meaningful advice. The best way to make use of this time and this activity is by focusing, right? Really allowing yourself to be here, coming home to the present moment, focusing on your breath, right? Really being in the here and now. And then from that place, listening from the heart, listening from the body, and, let's see if there's something here that is valuable, something here that we can make use of or not, right? So does anyone have a question to start us off? There's also some general things I would like to talk about and emphasize, but it's nice to just have the space open for question and sharing as we begin.
Meditation are you talking about?
Go ahead, you can say that again.
So when you talk about doing meditation and using meditation, which kind of meditation are you talking about? So is it like a more of a Dharma thing, going back to the breath, mixture?
Okay, so first question coming in is, when I say meditation, what kind of meditation am I talking about? I would say it's kind of like going for a walk or going for a jog or getting yourself moving, right? Activating your health, right? Doing something that is wholesome, that's meaningful, kind of putting yourself out there. And so we can ask a lot of questions, right? About, okay, well, where are we going to go for a walk? Why are we going to go for a walk? Do I feel perfectly that I want to go for a walk right now or not? But really, what a lot of us just need to do is go for a walk. We need to move. We need to go. We need to step forward. We need to activate, right? And mainly this form of meditation, right, is to be mindful. And this naturally happens, right? This kind of naturally happens when we go for a walk or when we get our body moving, when we are curious about something or inspired about something. There's a natural sense of being mindful, right? Being aware of what's happening right now. And the practice of meditation is not just to be aware of what's happening right now, but then to look very deeply into that present moment experiencing, right? That living experience of what's happening right here and right now, and entering into that. And when we start to approach meditation, a good foundation for it is just mindfulness of your breathing, mindfulness of your body, which means that you are focusing on being aware of your breath. You are focusing on being aware of your body. But there may be some confusion that comes up when you start to practice that if you don't have the right understanding, right? Or the right context for what you're doing or what you're experiencing. So let's look at the breath, okay? What is the breath? And that's a good question. We can ask, what is the breath? And then we'll get an experience of that by starting to look at the breath, isn't it? We'll start to look at the breathing. We'll start to look at at this thing that's happening right now. But the deeper aspect of it, and the more important aspect of it, is that this breath, this present moment, this right here, is something deeply, deeply essential, right? Really important, really worthwhile to focus on, to be aware of, to tune into, to connect with. So I like to put it this way. If someone were to offer you right now, and I know there's a culture here of trying to make more money, right? We want more money, we want to be successful, we want to, have financial independence, and that's somehow going to give us freedom or happiness, right? If someone were to be in front of you right now and say, okay, here's the deal. I'll give you $100,000 cash, but you can't take another breath. Which one are you going to pick? Which one are you guys going to pick? So what's more valuable right now? What's fundamentally more valuable to you guys right now? $100,000 or this breath? This breath, this experience of breathing, not just this oxygen, not just the idea of breathing, because the idea of breathing, I don't care. You give me $10, I'll give you my idea of breathing. What do I need that for, right? I don't need to carry around an idea of breathing. But that experience of breathing right here in the present moment is not just this like really essential experience to my life, but it is also nourishing me. It is also like giving me life. isn't it? Life itself. So that experience and then the process of breathing is giving life itself. And that is more important than $100,000 to you. Now, does that mean that $100,000 is not important or valuable to you? If someone were to say, "Hey, here's $100,000," would you say, "Oh no, I don't, that's not very high level, I don't really care too much about that." No, of course not. But your present moment breathing experience is way more valuable than you understand intellectually. But you can tune in, you can get the insight that it is very valuable, that it is very precious. So mindfulness meditation or meditation in general, okay, is not just some exercise. It's not just some practice that we're doing where we'll be like stronger in terms of meditation, or we meditate for 1 hour, or we meditate every day, or something like that. We are touching something. We are connecting with a reality that is very, very important and is beyond our usual ways of thinking about getting this and avoiding that and money and all that stuff. So that's the kind of meditation I'm talking about. And as we are here together in this lecture, and really at any point in your life, there is always the opportunity to tune in, to connect with your breathing, to come back to the present moment. And that is very, very valuable and very based and very realistic way to establish yourself in a place of value, in a place of worthwhileness. Okay? Everybody here on the Discord, unless you're ready to ask a question, please do keep your mic muted, okay? Otherwise, I might have to server mute you. Okay. Does anyone else have a question? Go ahead.
I'm 27 now. When I was younger, I suppressed my emotions as a defense mechanism for heartbreak, and I somehow completely suppressed my emotions to the point where I don't feel anything now when I'm older. And I've done some research on how to fix this, and I've seen advice to do emotional awareness meditation, but I haven't done too much research, so I wonder what you think is the best way to go about fixing it, like restoring my emotional awareness, because I'm completely blind right now.
Not sure exactly what you mean by that. You're completely blind. Can you give me an example, like an experience?
So after a couple of heartbreaks when I was younger, it just hurt so much that I like actively mentally decided to block out all the feelings, and it took a while, but it worked, and it worked to a point where I can't reverse that right now.
Okay. So this sounds like something that maybe would be better answered by a therapist, a good therapist. Someone who has those tools and techniques for understanding that, or giving you a more clear idea of what you may have done at that time. But the advice that that I can give you is very much that in our unconscious or in our mind there are seeds. Okay, there are seeds of choices that we've made, or things that we've chosen to avoid, things that we've chosen to like identify with ourselves with. And the more that you water that seed, the more attention, the more energy that you give to that perspective or that experience, that memory, etc., the more it's going to grow, the more power it's going to have over you. So in this case, you may have watered this seed of not really giving attention to things that were coming up. And a way to deal with that is by looking more deeply at what's there right now. and having a more sustained capacity to face and be with and stay with what's happening right now, and not to cut yourself off, right? To say, oh, I can't feel this, or oh, I've built up this blockade. Well, maybe that's an idea, but how do you feel into it? How do you sense into your experience right now? How do you breathe into your, I like to use the word, your heart mind? Not just your intellect, not just your thinking, but your heart mind right here in this present experience. How do you tune into that? How do you breathe into that? And be open to feeling whatever arises. And maybe this feeling that you're talking about of blocking things off or creating this wall, maybe that's the feeling that you need to give more space to, give more awareness to, give more presence to. Allow yourself to feel into that or experience into that blocking or that closing. And that's what can help it to open. We far too often kind of get an experience happens, or an idea comes up in our mind about what has happened or who we are or what kind of situation we find ourselves in. It's like, oh, I'm in this situation. Oh, I'm this kind of person. Oh, I've done that to myself, etc. Right? And the reality is that this is more like a temporary belief or idea. Maybe you could even call it an unskillful belief or a disempowering belief that gives you some justification or creates this kind of wall where you aren't looking more closely at life. You aren't looking more closely at where you really are, which is here in the present moment. So, sometimes we feel depressed and we say, oh, I have depression. Sometimes we feel anxious. Oh, I have anxiety. Well, maybe if you didn't say, I am depressed or I have anxiety, then you could look into, you could sit with, you could be with that feeling in the body, and you could learn how to understand it more deeply or even dissolve it. Right? And then once that's dissolved, once that's kind of released, you can open up more and more to a bigger experience, a wider experience of life, where there's more potential, there's more possibility. I would say don't be too confident about what you think or the idea that you have about your situation, right? Because you may not know as much about your situation as you imagine to. You may know very much about the idea about your situation that you're in, but you may not know so much about the experience itself or the situation itself. So try to disentangle the importance that you're giving to that idea of the actual situation that you're in, right? You have a clear idea about or feeling about this idea of the situation, but the actual situation is not your idea about it. Do you understand that? And the more that you can touch into that experience and humble yourself so you're not giving so much importance to this idea you have about your experience rather than the direct experience, then it becomes more workable and more malleable, right? And you've got to be patient with these things. But if you lock yourself into an idea about you or your experience or the reality, then you're actually you're subscribing to this idea rather than looking deeply at the reality of it, which is right here and right now. And that's the real work that we can do, is entering into this present moment experience and not minimizing it, not lessening it. So that's what I can share for now, brother. more open, go for walks, go for a walk out and just drop that idea and step into the experience. You don't need to hold on to this idea of, oh, I created this blockade. Open the blockade. That's the blockade. This idea that you've created this blockade and that you've done this to yourself, that's the barrier. That's the blockade that you need to step back from and put down. Welcome. Okay, Ice, what's your question? Okay, could you say that again?
Oh, did you not hear me?
Go ahead, please.
Okay. How important do you think religion plays into a man's self-improvement journey, and how important do you think that their romantic partner shares the same religion?
Okay. I think religion is too vague a word, right? If someone is practicing that religion, if someone's a part of a particular religion, then of course it's not vague to them. But in general, like in American society, we're not taught to be religious. Most of the people live in the coasts, right? The East and the West, and we more grow up on like capitalism, consumerism, materialism. We don't have such a religious societal emphasis, right? So I think that what religion offers us, and these things are essential to a young person's self-improvement journey. Essential. It doesn't get more essential than this. Religion can offer us a structure of community, virtue or morality, and the possibility of forgiveness or freedom or salvation, right? And in a certain sense, we need all of these, right? We need all of these things in our journey, right, to grow and develop as human beings. And this is one of the main points that I like to share in my lectures or in the events that I hold here and just in general. You need community, and you don't just need any community, but you need well-minded community. You need people who are really on the path. And to kind of know what that means, you need to have elders, right? You need to have people who are way more experienced than you, not just your peers. So community for sure, but also what's maybe more in our power or more we can directly start to emphasize now and work with now in our life, we need to have virtue. If you want to go from a Jeffrey to an Adonis, if you want to go from someone who is unstable, confused, problematic to someone who is wise, compassionate, valuable, etc., and based and all that stuff, an Adonis, you've got to become virtuous. You need to prioritize the intentionality to be good and do good, to be generous, to be careful, to be patient. This is the heart of anyone who's really gone through development and has grown and has had more peace in their life, is they value skillfulness of their mental, physical, and verbal actions. And a lot of that is what we don't do. A lot of that is what we don't consume, right? And then also this recognition that just because you're in a particular situation doesn't mean that you're always going to be in that situation, right? There is a temporariness to our sicknesses. There's also a temporariness to our successes. So that means we don't get stuck on any one particular thing. We don't get stuck on any one particular diagnosis or state that we're going through, whether it's anxiety or depression or what have you. It's something that comes up according to certain causes and conditions, right? Certain factors, and then it also goes away. So how do we stay grounded? How do we stay in the present? How do we stay virtuous in the midst of all these arising and changing conditions? And it tends to be that identifying with this particular condition of sleepiness or hunger or fear or this like big complicated story about your life or your relationship with someone else, it tends to be that locks us into a state. And we don't want to be locked into any state. We want to be free to do more good deeds. We want to be free to let go of more things that aren't necessary in our lives. We want to be free to be a dynamic human being that's constantly learning and growing and opening to life rather than closing around these certain ideas or perspectives.
I want to go off of what you said with the last part of your answer was the concept of a temporariness. It's definitely true because I think when we're younger and we have certain friend groups or we're in communities that we've grown up in and we've been accustomed to, we think that's going to be basically what we can expect for the future or, just long term. But if there's anything that I've learned, at least in my I'm 27 now. So in my late 20s, I'm about to be 28 actually very soon. But if there's anything I learned in my 20s and specifically my late 20s, that life goes on. Like, people move on, situation changes, and it's typically never good to go back in your past, regardless of whether it was positive or negative. That's just one of the biggest lessons I've had. I mean, even recently, I'd say just life
Okay.
always goes on, and it goes on with or without you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
All right. So we've got some questions coming through the YouTube, and I want to take a look at those before we continue. So Julie says, how can one apply Buddhist practices to modern day life for those of us who don't want to fully abandon life as we know it to become a monk? You can try to change your priorities. So rather than solely focusing on the priority of getting what you want, you can focus on the priority of being aware of what's happening right now, being mindful. The self-improvement journey, and especially like a lot of the self-improvement world, if you're talking about Hamza or Andrew Tate or, different like self-improvement memes online, you're mainly looking at people who are specializing in either physical wealth development, so the development of their body, or material wealth development, which is kind of an extension of the body, like money, possessions, things like that. It's much less so people who are focusing on development of the mind. And the reason for that is that it's very difficult to change the habit patterns of mind that we've already become established in. The main factor that's going to help you start to change any patterns, but especially those of the mind, is by your willingness to stop. At the beginning, it's very, very difficult to stop the mind, and meditation isn't about stopping the mind. And when you start practicing it and starting to work with it, but this willingness to stop, this openness to stopping, this openness to the space in between thoughts or the space in between activities or the space in between experiences. This is really vital and alive. But most of us, we don't look at it. We don't value that. We don't turn towards it or turn into it. And we can begin to do that. Rather than when we start to feel that space or that openness, we immediately like go run to do something, or we say, we get some judgment and then we believe in that judgment and then we just, run off. we're open to the reality of that stopping. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. And that this isn't a form of laziness, this isn't a form of rejecting our life, but actually entering into the direct experience of life here and now, which doesn't need to be defined by content or just filled with things. And that actually the spaciousness of this moment, the spaciousness of our life, the openness of our life, you couldn't fill it. It doesn't matter how much stuff you put into it. It doesn't matter how physically fit you get, how attractive you get, how wealthy you get, right? How skillful your mind is in terms of thinking or intellect. You can't fill this space. So how do we develop our relationship to this spaciousness, to this openness, to this non-thinking, non-doing, being no one, being a businessless person, a person who's got no business, even in happiness or joy or misery, or no profit, no loss, no gain and no losing. We should dare to step into this contemplative space, this inquiring space, deep looking. The only way to have deep understanding is by deep looking. And if you can't put down all these biases and desires and complicated stories about yourself and about other people, then you can't look deeply at what life actually is, which is right here and right now. Really, literally. I know it's kind of a meme to say that, right? Be in the present moment or right here, right now. But this is it. And this is not a story. To really bring meaningful practices and to walk a meaningful path in our life, there's the saying, a journey of 1,000,000 miles begins with a single step. But you can't begin a single step unless you have a real, and you can't continue on that journey unless you have a deeper intention to practice, to listen, to follow the map, the course. It doesn't matter. I mean, some of you guys are Christians, some are Muslims, some are atheists, some are Fortnite worshipers, and gamers, and all that stuff's fine. I mean, you're going to do what you're going to do, right? But to have that deeper intention, not just to get what you want or avoid what you don't, but that deeper intention to look deeply, to explore, right? And it's not a skepticism. It's not like a paranoia or like, what's the government doing? It's that you know how to stop and look deeply at what's offered to you, what's available to you, what's accessible to you, right here in this moment. And that's where your whole life is, right here in this moment. So that doesn't exclude anything or anyone. Your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your non-binary friend or Buddha, Krishna, Jesus. It's all part of this here and now. The good, the bad, the ugly, the fake, the true, the wrong, the right. So you're not excluding anything. You're not throwing anything away or rejecting anything by connecting more and more deeply with this present moment, with your mindfulness, with your breathing, with your heart mind. Okay? So we'll take another question on YouTube, and then we'll see if anyone else here has something. All right, David on YouTube says, I think many young people have mental health crisis and need to find anchor and support. Often this comes with partnership and a love life that often leads to social maturity. Any tips on how to do walking meditation? Any guided meditations you recommend? Partnership and a love life. Yeah, I mean, that's the major point, right? Partnerships. We need to find well-minded friends. We need to find balance in our relationships. We need to recognize instability and recognize stability. And if you're getting lost, if you're getting very involved in instability, you need to step back, stop, find your breathing, Find this moment. Tips on how to do walking meditation. Just go out into nature somewhere and walk and breathe and sync up your physical movements with your breathing. You can also do like a mantra, like you can say breathing in, breathing out, just repeating those words and kind of syncing that up with your breathing as you're walking. There's never going to be a replacement for a deep intention and a willingness and an aspiration. There's never going to be a replacement for that. So how do we generate that aspiration? By stopping and looking deeply at right where we are and having a deeper understanding of this heart, this mind, this body, this life. And then being willing to listen and being willing to try and explore. Okay? In Buddhism, we have the three fundamentals of the spiritual life or the self-improvement path. Sila, Samadhi, Panya, and sometimes called Dana Sila. So the two major things that you can do to start changing your life that are probably the most accessible and the most realistic, start prioritizing generosity, start being generous, start helping people out, donating, sharing, volunteering, whatever it is. Start doing actions of generosity in your life, prioritize it, set that intention, and then 5 precepts or 5 guidelines for ethical living. Don't steal, don't kill, don't lie, don't commit sexual misconduct, don't take drugs or intoxicants. If you guys can incorporate these 5 practices into your life, it's going to be a game changer. But actually, these 5 practices or 5 do's and don'ts of what to do, these are just the hand of mindfulness. These 5 fingers of these guidelines for living, they're the hand of mindfulness, or they're the hand of present moment awareness. How do we bring present moment awareness into all aspects of our life rather than being constantly lost in our complicated thinking in the past and the future and our stories, right? That's what it's all about. And when you start to prioritize being ethical, living a virtuous life, you have that access point for your presence, your depth, your heart mind to show up in whatever you're doing. Okay. Do we have another question from someone here in the Discord?
Because I don't know anything about it and I'm interested.
Well, so the question is, how do we begin with meditation? We mainly need to stop. Stop. Stop everything. Stop your life, stop your past, stop your future, stop your friends, stop your Fortnite, stop your computer, stop your camera, stop your light, stop your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, mind. Stop everything. Stop, 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 stop. Turn off the console. Turn off the computer. Sometimes the computer gets kind of twisted up, right? Too many apps, too many different things going on. I think this used to happen with older computers more, but it probably still happens, right? The computer, even the console, the PlayStation, the Xbox, somehow it gets twisted up. You got to restart it, right? But sometimes it's so twisted up that it's heated up. There's heat in that console. There's heat in that computer. It's bogged up. It's heated up. It's tightened up in a certain sense, right? So it's not just a matter of restarting it. You need to stop it. You need to leave it off. You need to let it cool down. You need to let it rest. And for many of us, our minds have just been in this constant state of tanglement and involvement and contrivance, or like this non-practical complicatedness of our mind and our thinking and how we see things, right? That it's not enough to just restart it. It's not enough to just refresh and restart. You've got to stop and you got to let that thing cool down. And when you stop everything, you just let yourself sit here and just let yourself breathe here, right? Just let yourself connect with this present moment experience that's not about your story of your life and all these people and all these ideas and all this identification you have with your past or your future, your wants, your fears, right? When you can just stop all that and let it settle. This is meditation. This is a natural meditative state. And many of the conditions and the situations in our life are not very much under our control. And kind of like some of the biggest examples of people being super in control and super wealthy and these kind of like ultimate human beings, right? Like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg, right? This is just cause and effect, causes and conditions. They're not geniuses. They're not winning Nobel Prizes. They didn't discuss, put in all this effort to find out like a Einstein math theorem or something like that. They're human beings. They're normal people. And because of certain causes and conditions, because of circumstances, they find themselves to be these ultimate billionaire tycoons in control of the world or whatever, right? You think that's because of their gumption and their think so and because they picked up their bootstraps and they did what they could and they became billionaire, empire kings or something like that? No, it's the cause and conditions we find ourselves in, right? So even though you guys are talking to a monk right now, how many of you are going to get serious about meditation? How many of you are going to start following precepts or start really emphasizing to live an ethical life? How many of you guys are going to look into like Buddhist philosophy or whatever? It's not to say that more or less is better, but what it is to say is that it's not so much under your control as you may imagine it to be. And the more that you stop and settle and calm and arrive, right? Arrive to this moment, because it's not like a sleepy state or like a dull state. There's a brightness to it. There's a clarity to it of just stopping and being here. The more that you can do that, the brighter your compass will be to navigate these waters of life, these waters of your mind. We have a natural intuition. We have a natural compass. But oftentimes we're so involved in all these complicated, confusing things in life that we don't recognize, we can't see that compass clearly. So we need to brighten it. How do we brighten it? We brighten it by being willing to stop, being generous, doing more of what we should do, less of what we shouldn't do, prioritizing to be ethical, to be virtuous, to be kind, to be patient, to be forgiving. It's not a better or worse. It's not a right or a wrong paradigm. It's how can you arrive to the here and now and be good and do good. And even deeper than that, be mindful. Be right here. Not about anyone or anything or any place or any time. Nothing can control you. Just mindful, just present, just in the here and in the now. And all these are practices. These are entry points for us to practice. It's not some philosophy for us to adopt, like being virtuous or being ethical, right? Doing more of what we shouldn't do and less of what we shouldn't do. That's an intention. You don't need to think about it. You don't need to figure out what does it mean to be generous? What does it mean to be kind to my mother? What does it mean to be patient? What does it mean to be gentle? You don't need to think about it. You just do it. You just help. You just be mindful. That's it. And this is a big life. And we don't have like a super enlightened perspective, right? Or we don't have the super ideal, the best conditions for us to continue on this journey, right? You don't have, Ronnie Coleman isn't 30 years younger and showing up at your house every day to keep you on the bodybuilding journey or take you to the gym, right? Maybe you don't have the best parent or the best living environment or the best resources for your education, etc., right? You're not in the ideal environment. So, and even if you were in the ideal environment, maybe your mind wouldn't be adjusted to it perfectly. So what does that mean? It means that we need to go slow and steady, step by step. And our intentionality and our sincerity is what's going to keep us going step by step in the right direction rather than the wrong direction. And also our mindfulness. Because if we can be mindful, if we can come back to the present moment experience of our breathing and our body, we know how to use our gut. We know how to see, oh, this kind of works, that kind of doesn't. This makes me feel this way, that makes me feel that way. This person doesn't seem trustworthy. This person seems reliable. Because you're not going to be able to think your way through life. We've got to know how to use our gut. We got to know how to be mindful. We got to know how to let go of all ideas and stories and just come home to the here and the now. And we can do it. We are doing it right now. Okay, who's ready to sing a song? A practice song? A mindfulness song? Who's ready? That's the other thing, guys. This is an aspect of generosity. You need to be ready to speak up. You need to be ready to share. You need to be ready to unmute and put yourself out there. Be vulnerable. Doing good deeds, doing actions of generosity. And being selfless. Giving up the self, just singing, just breathing, just seeing, just hearing. All right. Who's ready to sing a song? Unmute your mic. Let me hear you. Say, yes, I'm ready. Okay. So unmute. This is a very easy song to learn and to practice with, okay? We're going to have plenty of time to ask a question after, okay?
Perfect.
All right. Let's try this. All right. The first line of this song, and it's not really right to call it a song. It's more of a practice, but it's rhythmic. We're connecting with the rhythm. So the first line is, I am remembering who I am. And the second line is, I am remembering. And we do each line twice. Now, what does this mean? What's the teaching in this? The teaching is that we often forget who we truly are. We often forget who we really are, and we get stuck in the idea of ourselves. That's not you, that's the idea of you. We get stuck in the idea of who we were and who we're going to be, and our desires and our fears, our anxiety, our depression. That's not you, that's just something that's happening. That's just the depression. You are the one who have the capacity to see that and face that and heal that. All right? So when we remember who we truly are, it means we come back to the present moment, we come back to our freedom, we come back to our true self, which is
Saying that.
this is your introduction to the meaning of this song,
Okay.
the practice of it.
Okay.
All right, so
I see.
one more time, guys. 2 lines, and try to use your sincerity, use your bravery, really sing, share your happiness, okay? All right, 2 lines. The first line, I am remembering who I am. Second line, I am remembering, and each line goes twice. First round, listen to me sing it, and then the second round, you guys will sing together with me, okay? Are you ready? First,
Yes.
listen.
Yeah, man.
All right, here we
Right.
go. And guys, be brave. I know this can be scary, but be brave. Try to do it, okay? Use your
Be brave.
sincerity.
Stay
All right, here we go.
wild.
All right.
See you on the next.
Shh. Okay. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering. I am remembering. I am remembering who I am. All right, we'll all do it together now, okay? The Jeffrey inside of you does not want you to sing. The Jeffrey inside of you is going to say, no, that's not what cool guys do. That's not what strong boys do. I'm a cool boy, right? The Jeffrey is going to say that. Say, I'm too tough. I'm too cool for that. But the Adonis inside of you is going to say, this is monk, bro. This is bringing out the heart, the deeper mind, and I'm ready to do it. Are you ready to do it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Let's go.
Let me hear you guys.
Ready as I ever was.
Wait, just I kind of forgot, but just
listen. Listen. If you have the tendency to be louder, be softer. If you have the tendency to be softer, be a little bit louder. Okay, here we go. Let's practice this. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering. I am remembering. Again, everybody in the back, everybody on mute. Here we go. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering who I am. I am remembering. I am remembering. Great job, guys. Flowers. Great job.
Thank you.
Very, very
Hey.
Thanks, it was fun.
good. Okay, good job, guys.
Thank
So,
you.
we've got a question that came in through YouTube. And Jen said, I have a problem with interrupting people or rambling in conversation. I feel like this is in response to anxiety, but do you have any tips for me? When people are talking to us, when people are sharing with us, it's a really great opportunity to listen deeply, right? Not only for ourselves, because you know you have that tendency to like speak over or overshare or whatever, but also to listen deeply for them. Because this is what we need to understand, right? And this is big picture stuff. life is not all about you. Your life is not all about you. It never has been. It never was. You didn't get to this point because life was all about you. You got to this point through generosity. You got to this point through community, right? And life is worth living when we can drop our selfishness and we can open up to everything that life has to offer, all this freedom, all this community that is available to us. And another thing is that this kind of goes with like, all right, say someone at school is new to the school, somebody who's new to the school, and let's say they're Asian, Chinese or Vietnamese, something like that, and they have a strong accent, right? They speak English. They can speak English for sure, but it's with a strong accent, right? Now there's a tendency, or they're Indian maybe, there's a tendency to like pick on that person or bully them or push them out or like, oh, that's different, so I'm not that interested in that. Do you guys understand how backwards that is? The reason that that person speaks with such a strong accent is because they know 2 languages at least. Because they carry within them a completely different culture and society that you can learn from, that you can grow from, that you can integrate into yourself. So this diversity or these differences that we have is to be celebrated. It's to be connected with. It's to be tuned into, right? Not to reject. And when we can really listen deeply to someone else's perspective, even when it's a little bit abrasive, even when we feel like, oh, they're not right or they're not the best or whatever, if we can listen deeply to it, we can incorporate that into our own practices, right? And people have all kinds of wisdom that's not just about us, right? Or our perspective or our idea of what's right. So be open to listening. Now, you guys, some of you have a tough situation where you're going to school and you're getting all this info kind of, forced into your mind, but you can, that's your work. That's the work that you've got to do at this time. So go gently, but don't waste that opportunity, right? To show up and to be present and to do your best. Make the best of it, whatever it is. So guys, we're coming up on the 1 hour mark. Let's see if we have any final questions before we close, and we'll consider that to be a successful lecture. Okay, go ahead, brother. Wait a sec. Let's get that other person who wants to ask their question. Is that PWE? No, the other one. Someone else had a question. Yeah, go ahead.
Should I just limit my phone to just minimum, or should I just completely cut out the phone from my life, except for like, I don't know, calling someone or texting?
Yeah, minimize the phone. Minimize it. That means that that doesn't mean you're rejecting it. If you reject anything in your life, you're going to have a problem. We're human beings. This brain is this big because we don't reject things. We know how to make use of anything, everything, right? Rejecting is just another form of addiction or grasping, attachment, right? So minimize the phone, but do it in such a way where you're opening up more space and time for reading or for going for a walk or doing some exercise or joining a group meditation or, explore more creativity. Sometimes we get so stuck in these avenues or these pipelines of consumption that have been kind of laid out for us. And that's fine. That happens, right? We all have those pipelines or those ruts that we have in our life. It's not that they're inherently bad. But the problem is when we find ourselves in those ruts so often that we forget that the world is much bigger than that. That walk is not your idea of that walk. So just walk. That exercise or that book or that reading or that friend or whatever it is, it's not just your idea of it. It's something for you to step into and experience and explore. And if we can minimize that phone use, if we can reduce it a bit, we'll have a lot more space for that exploring. Right? Okay. And experimentation, right? Sometimes minimize it, sometimes drop it. you find yourself getting lost in it, minimize, but don't be attached to whatever you do. Okay, go ahead. Well, we've got a question on YouTube, then we'll go to Pro. Luffy on YouTube says, how to radiate positive energy like some people do, like those who have gone through a lot but still make the present moment feel great and hopeful, like some people do. Be good. Do good. Our goodness is our freedom. Our goodness is our happiness, our joy, our brightness. Okay, what is the sun doing? The sun 24/7, literally all the time, is doing what the sun should do, without boundaries, without attachments, without getting stuck. So we need to be brave to do what we should do. What should we do? We should do good deeds. We should be generous. We should not kill, even those bugs. Why do you want to run around killing bugs? Respect all life. Respect the properties of other people. Don't be stealing. Don't lie or speak harshly. Speak skillfully. Speak carefully. Speak beautifully. Be very careful with your sexual energy. Be very careful with your sexual energy so you don't hurt yourself or someone else. Don't take drugs or intoxicants. That also means be careful with your caffeine intake, right? We incorporate these things into our life. That's what we should do. And it means that we're taking care. And it means that even though we've had difficulties in our life, even though we've made mistakes, we've also done a lot of good. And the good that we do is as undeniable as the bad that we do. Only the bad we can reduce, and it can be much more limited. And the good is limitless. We can do good more and more and more. Always with that energy of mindfulness or present moment awareness, present moment breathing. Okay. Legion said, how can I become a Buddhist other than reading this stuff? Well, you can start by joining the online Discord community. You can go to the website that's listed in the description of this video, monklife.one. And you can also look on Google Maps and try to find a Buddhist temple in your area or a Buddhist group in your area. Anything that we really want to get into, develop, and be strong in takes a lot of intention, a lot of exploration, a lot of trying. So try. Try to follow up. You're looking at a monk right now. Well, what's this YouTube channel about? What's their Discord profile about? What's he doing? You tune into that, and then from there, you're in a more workable situation to ask questions, to get connected, to use resources, because we're in the internet age, right? If it was as easy as plugging in a USB to our ear and then plugging in the other side to the computer, you can be a Buddhist, a Muslim, a Christian, a philosophist, you can be everything all at once. It's not that easy. So we've got to kind of slow down, find our center, find our sincerity, and kind of slowly go in that direction of not just what we're interested in, but also what's in front of us, also what's accessible for us. Sometimes we don't make use of what's in front of us because we're waiting for that perfect situation to come along. There is no perfect situation. If you're hungry, eat. If you're tired, sleep. If you're ready to do good deeds, be mindful, do some actions of generosity, just get to it. That's how you learn. All right, last question, maybe, from Pro Swiss.
So, how do you become a monk, right? Who decides that? Is it like a qualification or?
Yeah, so you basically become a monk by becoming a meditator and a Buddhist. You basically become a meditator and a Buddhist by joining a Buddhist group, a meditation group. In person or online is also okay. And then from that, you connect with the teachers or the monks in that group, and then they can give you guidance on how to proceed in the possibility of becoming a monk. But first, you've got to be a Buddhist and a meditator. All right? Well, that's your test and exam. How many people do you know who are Buddhist and meditators? Basically none, right? So that's your test and exam. It's not easy. Even to meditate for 15 minutes is really difficult. So imagine to become a meditator or to become a Buddhist. For a lot of people, it's difficult to even get their stuff together enough to drive to McDonald's or Wendy's, right to the fast food place. There's a difficulty there. So how much more so to join a meditation community, to join a Buddhist community, to listen to Dhamma talks, right? To attend a retreat, intensive meditation retreat. This is the real deal stuff. And I'm sharing with you guys from those practices and from those experiences that were very difficult. Those are my qualifications. All right. Before we finish, you're welcome, brother. Before we finish, is there anyone else who's been here for the full lecture that had a question that didn't get answered?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, so first off, I'm 14 and I wanted to ask, so how do I actually enjoy my teenagehood? So I see all of these people in Hamza's Discord and like they all go like cold turkey on everything. And there are some people in, for example, my environment, let's say, in my class, in school, etc. And they do like all of those bad habits or ineffective habits, as we said. And I wanted to say, how do you find that balance so that we are perfectly happy with our life, but also not like kind of being a weirdo that kind of is out of like all of those activities that other teenagers do? So, yeah, I just want to find a balance.
If you are stuck in what you are doing, then you will suffer. We learn by experience, and we gain experience by experimentation. There is a difference between trying alcohol or trying a cigarette or trying cannabis and becoming someone who is smoking or drinking or using cannabis. And in the same way, there's a difference between trying alcohol for the first time and smoking DMT or taking a bunch of mushrooms, right? So we've got to find where we are on the spectrum, and then we've got to experiment with different practices. Don't limit yourself. Don't trap yourself. Don't lock yourself into this idea of this is what I need to do to be happy. Because that's just your idea. That's not your experience of trying different practices to bring more happiness or peace to your life. Don't be rigid about, I've got to be a complete self-improvement person all the time. You got to be a kid. You got to explore. You got to be natural. And if you can your self-improvement journey should mainly be about being good and doing good and being generous, not harming yourself and not harming other people. But if you get so specialized, if you get so attached to this idea of that's wrong, that's right, you're becoming a monster of attachment, and you're not going to enjoy your life, right? Now what? Because you're on the self-improvement journey, you can't eat Skittles? That's not the kind of self-improvement journey I want to be on. Now, that's different from eating Skittles every day, eating candy every day, or drinking energy drinks every day, because that is going to become a problem. But don't lock yourself into this unnecessary rigidity. Our rigidity should come up in terms of our freedom, our patience, our forgiveness, our bravery, our willingness to explore, our willingness to let go of things that burden us. Okay? Don't be too serious, brother. Play, be free, explore. That's how you're going to learn. That's how you become more skillful. Okay?
Oh, and also another thing. So you said about this balance that we need to set and also experiment, because that's how we become skillful people, right? So, um, does meditation help with having that balance, being mindful about what we do and not going over the limit or way under the limit, let's say?
It certainly does. It certainly does. Mindfulness is like your compass in all activities of life. Your compass is always there, whether you're mindful or not, right? You take something and then you get sick. Don't take that again, right? You go to this place and the people make you feel anxious and depressed, whatever. Okay, I don't go to that place again, right? That kind of thing. But when you have your mindfulness, you can be more closely looking at your moment by moment mental action, physical action, verbal action, and the effect that it has, right? So your compass becomes brighter, more clearly seen. Brother, I recommend you and for everybody here, this is one of my major recommendations for you guys. Go to the App Store, go to your phone, okay? And this is a good point for PWE. Go to your phone and download the Plum Village app and explore. Explore it. For guided meditations, for introduction into meditations, for different ideas, philosophy. Plum Village app is the best meditation app in many kind of ways. I recommend. All right? And Legion said over on YouTube, what can be the best number one book to read? There's no best number one book to read. This is part of the problem. This mindset is a big, big problem. If you're looking for the best number one meal, but you're starving and underfed and you have a low, your nutrition isn't right, you will not eat the nutritious meal that's in front of you because you want filet mignon and a $50 steak. But who says you're going to get a $50 steak? Who says you're going to get the best book to read? Who says you're going to have this special meal? Nobody. Nobody. You got to eat what's in front of you. You got to know how to use what's in front of you. That's what I always say to people because a lot of people who come across me don't otherwise know about Buddhism or meditation or like a monk, right? A monk life. So I'm not biased in saying this. This is the monk that's in front of you. This is the monk that you're talking to. So you've got to know how to follow, to listen, to practice, to keep showing up, to make use of what's in front of you. If you've got a Buddhist book that's in front of you that you feel like you can use it. If you've got the Plum Village app on your phone or that you can make use of, use it. If Bhante Varrapanyo has a YouTube channel or a TikTok channel or a Discord server or website or whatever, use it. That's what's available to you. And then from that point, you can have this consistency of doing what you can do, doing what you should do when you can do it. More and more. And that's how we start to continue to develop, to shift, to deepen. And then you might be surprised at how your mind can change and the opportunities that open up for you. So Plum Village app. And for beginners, the best book, I definitely would recommend No Mud, No Lotus, The Art of Transforming Suffering. And we've done a Buddha book club in my Discord community on that topic. No Mud, No Lotus, The Art of Transforming Suffering. And you can check out the Buddha Book Club on my YouTube channel for that book. Okay, guys, is that good? Are we all set? Okay. So be good, do good, be mindful, and look deeply. And let's keep going. Okay.
And it's just shit. Like, what can I do? You know what I mean?
You should try to develop yourself. develop your mind. We can't always develop our body, but we can develop our mind, and that's what's more important anyway. So be good, guys. Be mindful. Plum Village app, and I'll see you guys soon, okay? Bye-bye. And for those on TikTok,